All right, websites. Who doesn't love a good website, right? But when it comes to building one, the choices can be overwhelming. GoDaddy, Webflow. What's the deal with these platforms anyway?
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today, figuring out which platform is the right fit for your next project, which is a pretty big deal, actually.
Because choosing the wrong platform, ouch. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. It's just not going to work out well.
Exactly. And no one wants to waste time and energy wrestling with technology that isn't a good fit.
For sure. So, to help us navigate this digital landscape, we dove into some expert comparisons, and let me tell you, things get interesting. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's start with the basics.
Sounds good. What do we need to know?
Well, for starters, let's talk about GoDaddy. They've been around forever. I mean, practically invented the domain name, right?
Yeah, they were definitely there at the beginning of it all. And you can tell their whole approach to website building really emphasizes simplicity and ease of use.
Mm.
They want to make the process as painless as possible, especially for beginners.
So it's like the training wheels of website building.
Kind of, yeah. They hold your hand through the entire process. Think of it like walking into a well-organized store. Everything you need to get a basic website up and running is right there. Domain registration, hosting, website builder, all bundled together in a neat little package.
Convenient, streamlined. But I'm guessing there might be some trade-offs for all that simplicity.
Mm.
Our research hinted at some limitations, especially when it comes to design flexibility.
Right, so GoDaddy is fantastic if you need a functional, professional-looking website up and running quickly, especially if you're comfortable working with pre-designed templates.
Templates, got it. So you're not building from scratch necessarily, more like customizing a pre-existing structure.
You got it. Think of it like choosing a well-tailored suit off the rack. It might not be completely unique, but it's a solid, professional starting point.
Makes sense. But if you're envisioning a highly customized website with all the bells and whistles, you might hit some roadblocks with GoDaddy.
Right, and that's where Webflow enters the picture.
Webflow, the platform for the pros, according to our research.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit intimidating. Is it only for designers and code wizards, or can us mere mortals dabble in Webflow too?
Webflow definitely has a steeper learning curve than GoDaddy. There's no denying that. But the trade-off is a level of control and customization that GoDaddy just can't match.
Okay, so paint me a picture here. We've got GoDaddy, the user-friendly option, potentially better for simpler websites. And then there's Webflow, more powerful, more flexible, but maybe not as beginner-friendly.
You're getting the idea. And that difference in approach is evident from the moment you start using each platform.
Oh, really? Tell me more about that.
We'll take GoDaddy, for example. They really prioritize hand-holding throughout that onboarding process. It's like they're right there with you every step of the way.
So they're guiding you through the entire process of setting up your website.
Exactly. They use the super intuitive drag-and-drop editor. Plus, they have tons of templates organized by industry, so whether you're a restaurant owner building your first website or a photographer showcasing your portfolio, there's a starting point waiting for you.
I can see the appeal in that, especially for those of us who aren't exactly design gurus. But what about Webflow? Is it a sink or swim situation over there?
It's definitely more of a learn-as-you-go experience with Webflow. While they do have a library of helpful tutorials, there's a greater expectation that you're willing to invest some time and energy into learning the ropes.
So with GoDaddy, you're up and running quickly with their guided approach. With Webflow, you're unlocking more flexibility and customization, but with a steeper learning curve up front.
Exactly, and that difference extends to the design aspect as well, but we can dive into that a bit later.
Definitely. I'm actually really curious to hear more about how the design capabilities of these two platforms actually stack up against each other. All right, design, it can make or break a website, so no pressure there. Let's get specific. What's GoDaddy's approach to design? We hear a lot about templates.
Templates are key with GoDaddy. Think of it as their design foundation. They've got a wide variety to choose from, all mobile responsive, which is super important these days.
Mobile responsive, meaning?
Meaning your website will automatically adjust to look good on any device, phones, tablets, laptops, you name it. And these templates, they cover a bunch of different industries, so you're likely to find something that's at least a good starting point.
Okay, so it sounds like you're customizing a pre-existing design rather than building from scratch. What kind of customization are we talking about here? Can you tweak the colors, fonts, that sort of thing?
Absolutely, yeah. You can definitely personalize things. Switch up the colors, add your logo, change the fonts. You're working within the structure of that template. Think of it like buying a nice, well-made suit off the rack. You might get it tailored to fit you perfectly, but you're not going to redesign the entire suit.
Gotcha. A good option if you're short on time, maybe not a design whiz, but still want a professional look. But if someone wants to flex their creative muscles and build a truly unique website, that's where Webflow comes in.
You got it. Webflow gives you the tools and the freedom to create something completely unique. No templates. You're starting with a blank canvas.
So you're trading that initial ease of use for ultimate design control. Is it really like starting from scratch, coding and all that?
Well, you don't have to be a coding guru, but it does help to have some HTML and CSS knowledge if you really want to maximize Webflow's potential. It's more like you're working with a visual editor, but you have access to the underlying code if you need it.
Okay, so it's a powerful tool, but maybe not for the faint of heart. Our research mentioned something about Webflow being particularly great for animations and interactions. What's that all about?
Oh yeah, Webflow lets you create these super engaging, dynamic user experiences, stuff that just makes your website stand out.
Give us the rundown. What kind of animations are we talking about here?
Think about parallax scrolling. That's where the background image moves slower than the content in the foreground, creating this cool layered effect, adds depth. Or those little micro interactions. They're like subtle animations that respond to your mouth movements. A button that changes color when you hover over it. Little details, but they can make a huge difference in how users perceive your site, make it more engaging.
So you're not just visiting a website, you're experiencing it. Okay, before we go too far down the design rabbit hole, let's talk e-commerce. After all, for many people, the whole point of having a website is to sell stuff online.
True.
So where do GoDaddy and Webflow stand when it comes to setting up an online store? What can you tell us about GoDaddy's e-commerce capabilities?
Well, GoDaddy keeps things pretty straightforward with e-commerce. Their focus is on making it easy to set up a basic online store, even if you've never done it before.
Perfect for beginners. But what does that actually look like? What kind of features are we talking about here?
So you're talking about creating product listings, adding images, descriptions, all that good stuff. You can manage your inventory, set up payment processing.
Sounds pretty intuitive so far.
Right, it is. They also have integrations with popular payment gateways, so accepting payments from customers is super easy.
So it sounds pretty user-friendly, just like their website builder. But are there any limitations we should be aware of?
Like anything, there are some trade-offs. With GoDaddy's e-commerce features, you're not going to get the same level of customization and granular control that you might find with other platforms, especially Webflow.
What do you mean? Give me an example.
So for example, you might be a little limited in how you display different product variations or set up those more complex discount codes that everyone loves. It's really solid for getting that basic online store up and running quickly, but if you're dealing with, say, huge sales volumes or you have some really specific e-commerce needs, you might outgrow GoDaddy's capabilities.
Makes sense. And that's probably where Webflow shines,
Yeah.
with the fully customizable, build-it-your-way e-commerce solutions.
Yeah, you've got it. Webflow is definitely the way to go if you're looking to create a highly customized online store that's really tailored to your specific needs and workflows.
Okay, what does that look like in practice?
Well, for one, you have a lot more control over the look and feel of your product displays. You can get really creative with how you present your products, and you can offer a wider range of product options and variations, something that might be a little trickier with GoDaddy.
I see.
Plus, Webflow lets you integrate with more advanced e-commerce features, things like abandoned cart recovery, which can be a game changer for boosting sales.
Okay, I'm getting the sense that with Webflow, you have the potential to build a really sophisticated online store, but it requires more effort on the back end.
Exactly. More control, more flexibility often means a bit more of a learning curve. And speaking of trade-offs, let's talk about pricing. Because at the end of the day, we all have budgets to stick to.
Right, and I have a feeling that all that flexibility and customization that Webflow offers probably doesn't come cheap. So hit me with the numbers. Let's start with GoDaddy. What's their pricing structure like? All right, so we've explored GoDaddy, the streamlined, budget-friendly option, great for beginners. And we've dug into Webflow, the powerhouse of customization, perfect if you're after a truly unique online presence, even if it means a bit of a learning curve. But now comes the million-dollar question.
Which one's right for you?
Exactly. So how does someone listening to this actually decide? Because it feels like we've thrown a lot of information at them.
Yeah, it can feel overwhelming. Honestly, the best way to approach this decision is to think about your own specific needs and priorities.
Like, what are your must-haves versus nice-to-have?
Exactly. So let's break it down a bit. First and foremost, how comfortable are you with technology? Like, really? Are you someone who enjoys the nitty-gritty of building things from scratch? Does the thought of coding excite you?
Because if the answer is a resounding yes, bring on the code,
Mm-hmm.
then Webflow is probably your jam.
It is. Webflow gives you that level of control, but if you're more of a just tell me what to do and make it easy kind of person, and again, nothing wrong with that, GoDaddy is going to be a much smoother experience.
Drag, drop, done.
Hmm.
I like it. So tech comfort level check. What else should we be considering?
Legit. Let's
Yeah.
be real. It plays a role. If you're
Yeah.
working with limited funds, got to make every penny count. GoDaddy's pricing is super competitive, especially for those basic plans.
Okay, makes sense. But if you view your website as more of a long-term investment, something that's going to grow with your business,
Then that's where Webflow might actually make more financial sense in the long run. Yeah, you might pay a bit more upfront, but you're also less likely to outgrow the platform and need to migrate your entire website later on.
which can be a huge headache,
Uh,
switching platforms midstream, no thank you.
Exactly. So think about the big picture, not just the immediate costs.
Solid advice.
Eh.
All right, one last thing I want to touch on: customer support. We all need a little help sometimes, right? So if you're the kind of person who likes having someone to call, like, help, my website's down,
Mm.
then GoDaddy has that amazing 24/7 phone support.
It's true, they do. But if you don't mind doing a bit of research on your own, maybe digging through some help documents or browsing through forums, Webflow has this incredibly comprehensive knowledge base, what they call their Webflow University.
Sounds intense.
It's pretty amazing. And their community forum is super active, really helpful, but it boils down to your preference, really.
Do you want someone to guide you step by step, or are you more of an independent learner?
Exactly. And, at the end of the day, we've really just scratched the surface here.
There's a whole world of website builders out there. This isn't a GoDaddy or Webflow only situation.
Definitely not. So if you're still feeling unsure, my advice would be to just experiment.
Trying them out. See what clicks.
Exactly. Most of them offer free trials. So roll up your sleeves, play around, get a feel for the interface. It's the best way to know if a platform is truly the right fit for you.
Couldn't agree more. And with that, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, but hopefully you're walking away feeling more informed and empowered to tackle that next website project.
Absolutely. Building a website can be daunting, but it should also be fun and exciting. So choose the platform that lets you express your creativity and achieve your goals.
And don't be afraid to reach out if you have questions along the way. Until next time, happy building.